We live in a world where everyone's trying to prove something, prove they're right, prove they matter, prove they deserve love. They explain, over-explain, plead for recognition, sometimes to people who've already chosen not to listen. But the Stoic walks a different path. The Stoic doesn't crave attention. The Stoic doesn't chase approval. The Stoic doesn't beg for understanding. Why? Because they know this truth. Silence is strength. When most people are wounded, rejected, or misunderstood, they panic. They run after those who hurt them. They try to fix what's broken by defending themselves to people who don't care to hear it. That's not strength. That's fear disguised as courage. You call someone and they ignore it. You text, no reply. You send long emotional paragraphs trying to prove your value, hoping they'll finally get it. But here's the truth. The more you explain, the more power you surrender. And that is not Stoicism. Think of Marcus Aurelius. Think of Epictetus. These men understood the might of silence, not because they didn't care, but because they recognized this law of life. The more you place your worth in things outside of your control, the less control you'll have. Epictetus. When you chase validation or demand someone see your side, you're saying, "My peace depends on your reaction." That's not peace, it's captivity. True power is found when someone disrespects you and you walk away in quiet dignity. Not out of ego, but because your self-worth doesn't raise its voice. That's silence. It isn't emptiness. It's self-mastery. It's a quiet, unshakable knowing that says, I don't need your understanding to stay true to myself. And yes, this kind of silence unsettles people. Because when you stop reacting, they lose the influence they once had. Today, we're going to explore this exact kind of silence, not the silence of avoidance, but the kind that commands respect. We'll unpack 6 powerful truths, 6 reasons why Stoic silence is a form of personal dominance. Why those who master it never chase, never beg, never explain. If you've ever been misunderstood, if you've ever overgiven, if you've ever chased someone who walked away, this is your invitation to stop. Let this script be the turning point. Before we dive into truth number 1, do one thing. If this message already speaks to your soul, like this video. Share your thoughts and affirmations in the comments, and subscribe for more Stoic guidance every single week. But above all, don't skip anything. Because one truth in this message could change how you carry yourself for life. Drop this in the comments to anchor the lesson. My silence is my strength. Truth number 1. Silence makes them feel your absence more than your words ever could. Have you ever noticed this strange paradox? When you stop talking, stop explaining, stop chasing, people start paying attention. Silence doesn't push people away, it pulls them in. Now think back to the last time someone hurt you, ghosted you, dismissed you, disrespected you. Your instinct probably screamed, say something, fight back, make them understand. But here's what you might not have realized. The more you speak, the less they hear. The more you pursue, the faster they run. The more you justify, the less weight your words carry. But when you go silent, really silent, that's when they notice your absence, more than they ever valued your presence. Elbert Hubbard once wrote, "He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words." The ancient Stoics knew this well. Why? Because silence creates a discomfort that noise never could. When you go quiet on someone who expected you to plead, who counted on your reaction, you hold up a mirror. Your silence says, I saw what you did. I felt how you treated me. but I honor myself too much to explain it to you. That kind of silence doesn't come from bitterness. It comes from clarity. You finally realize, if they cared, they would ask. If they respected you, they'd reach out. If they were capable of emotional maturity, they wouldn't need a monologue to understand your value. So you say nothing, and in that space, you reclaim every ounce of power you used to give away. You stop spending your energy trying to be heard by people who can't even hear themselves. You stop trying to fix emotional wounds with conversations, because some pain needs solitude to heal. And yes, your silence will unsettle them. They'll wonder, why didn't he respond? Why didn't she fight back? Do they even care anymore? That's when everything shifts, because silence communicates one message that's impossible to ignore. You are no longer owed an explanation. Truth number 2. Silence helps you hear the truth within. We live in a noisy world, and not just on the outside. When you're heartbroken, betrayed, confused, the noise gets internal too. That voice in your head races for answers, solutions, validation. Most people in those moments run to others, texting 5 friends, scrolling through social feeds, or confronting the one who caused the pain, desperate for clarity. But the Stoic doesn't run outward. He steps inward. He doesn't avoid the pain. He faces it in stillness. He doesn't chase a quick fix. He waits for the deeper answer. Because the Stoic knows this. Real clarity doesn't rise from chaos. It emerges from quiet. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are upset by something external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your perception of it. And you can change that perception at any moment." When you become quiet, truly quiet, something happens. The mental static settles, and beneath that noise, the truth appears. In those silent moments, you start to hear things you'd been avoiding. They never truly respected me. I just didn't want to see it. I'm not mad that they left. I'm upset that I stayed longer than I should have. I don't need a final conversation. I need peace. Those insights don't come from others. They don't arrive in texts. They don't live in conversations. They emerge in the stillness you once feared. Silence creates space, the space to separate your emotions from your values. Because when you're hurting, your emotions scream. Chase them. Explain yourself. Show them what they lost. But when you stay silent, your values whisper. Guard your dignity. Protect your peace. Let them go. This is why the Stoics didn't react impulsively. They understood the power of the pause, a sacred stillness before decision. Modern culture says, say what's on your mind. Stand up for yourself. Tell them how you feel right now. But here's the hidden danger in that noise. You don't earn respect by yelling louder. You earn it by standing still, grounded, while others lose control. Because here's what silence reveals. The people who care will show you. The people who don't will disappear. And the people who manipulate will get frustrated. Because silence breaks their grip. You don't need to beg for answers. The truth surfaces when the chaos fades. And you'll realize you don't need anyone to fix your pain. You don't need another voice to tell you what's right. You already know. You've just been too loud to hear it. Silence isn't inaction. It's intention. It's not weakness. It's awareness. It's not passive. It's focused. It's the entryway to wisdom most never discover, because they're too busy trying to be heard by the world, instead of listening to their own soul. So when life feels loud, when your emotions are clouded, when you don't know what to do next, don't act, don't chase, don't explain. Be still, because the answer It's not outside you. It's already inside, waiting in the silence. Truth number 3. Seeking closure is a quiet form of self-betrayal. Let's be honest about something most people won't say out loud. Begging for closure doesn't bring healing. It often brings more pain. We all crave it. The final conversation, the honest goodbye, the moment that makes sense of everything. We tell ourselves, if I could just hear them say why, then I could move on. But here's the reality. If someone truly valued you, you'd never have to beg for clarity. They would offer it willingly. And if they don't, your silence is the closure. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That might not seem connected at first, but here's how it applies. When you stop chasing explanations and start living your truth, you stop needing others to validate your pain. Yes, the pain is real. Yes, they hurt you. But when you seek closure from the very person who broke you, you hand over your healing. You say, "I can't feel whole unless you fix what you shattered." And that's not healing, that's dependency. Here's the cycle. They hurt you. You demand answers. They respond with silence, blame, or avoidance. You spiral, and it all starts again. Until one day you realize the truth. Closure isn't something you receive. It's something you create. It happens the moment you decide, I don't need them to understand my pain. I don't need one last talk. I don't need to hear I'm sorry to move forward. Because chances are, you've been pouring your heart out to someone who already made peace with hurting you. You've been explaining your worth to someone who already decided to ignore it. You've been waiting for healing in a place that caused your wound. That's not closure. That's emotional self-harm. The Stoics knew, when ego and emotion take control, judgment gets clouded. You want to be the bigger person. You want to be seen as kind, forgiving, noble. But sometimes, the noble thing is to walk away, quietly, fully, finally. Real closure is this. You accept they gave all they could, even if it wasn't enough. You stop expecting them to become more honest, more caring, more evolved. You stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen. And in that silence, something powerful returns to you, your self-respect. You don't need them to acknowledge your value. You do. You don't need a long message to say goodbye. You can walk without speaking. You don't need to keep the door open for someone who slammed it behind them. Your silence becomes the final chapter. Your stillness becomes your peace. So stop writing drafts you'll never send. Stop crafting the perfect message. Stop looking for closure in people who were never open to begin with. Instead, go quiet and let your silence become the space where self-worth finally breathes again. Truth number 4. Silence reveals what words try to conceal. There's a truth most people don't want to admit. Words can be beautiful, but they can also be deceiving. People say what sounds good. They speak to soothe, to deflect, to cover. They explain, apologize, promise. But behind those words, often there's nothing real. Silence doesn't lie. Silence can't pretend. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "What you do speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say." The Stoics lived by this principle. They didn't trust apologies, they trusted consistency. They didn't believe in talk, they watched behavior. Because when you stop talking and start observing, the truth has nowhere to hide. When you go silent, really silent, you give people the space to show who they are without influence. And trust me, they will. The one who genuinely cares will reach out. The one who only used you will vanish. The one who tried to manipulate will grow irritated, confused, even angry. Not because you've hurt them, but because you've removed the tool they use to control you. your reaction. That's what most people miss. Words can build illusions. Silence reveals reality. You don't need to test people. You don't need to confront them. Just go quiet and watch. See who shows up. See who disappears. See who stumbles without your energy to feed off of. Your silence will expose their intentions faster than any conversation ever could, because people can argue with what you say, but they can't argue with your absence. They can dismiss your words, but not your detachment. And that silence, it stings, not because it's cold, but because it's undeniable. When you stop speaking, you stop justifying. You stop defending. You stop performing for people who never deserved your effort. And in that stillness, everything becomes clear. You don't need an apology to see someone's true nature. You don't need a conversation to validate your instincts. You don't need their explanation, because their actions already explained everything. This is why the Stoic path is so misunderstood. People think it's harsh. They think it lacks emotion. But in reality, it's deeply emotional, just disciplined. It's not about shutting down. It's about refusing to be fooled. So the next time someone uses words to pull you back in, slow down. Don't respond quickly. Don't get pulled into their story. Don't chase meaning in empty promises. Instead, observe. Let your silence strip away the mask, and let their behavior write the truth in ink. Because while words may dance around the issue, silence points directly to what's real. Truth number 5. Refusing to explain yourself is real confidence. Let's face it, being misunderstood hurts. It's natural to want to speak up, to defend yourself, to say, "That's not who I am." But a Stoic doesn't live for others' approval. He isn't obsessed with correcting opinions. Because he knows this, explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds isn't confidence. It's insecurity dressed up as clarity. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't waste what's left of your life worrying about what others are thinking, unless it's for the common good." That's a wake-up call. Every time you try to convince someone of your intentions, your loyalty, your worth, you're spending precious energy on someone else's limited perception. And that isn't power. That's bondage. The one who doesn't explain himself isn't arrogant. He's self-possessed. He doesn't shout his truth into rooms where it won't be received, because his truth doesn't need permission to exist. He knows his actions align with his values. His intentions are clean. His conscience is clear. He doesn't need to broadcast that to anyone who refuses to see it. This kind of inner stillness can confuse people. They'll call you cold. They'll label you selfish. They'll accuse you of being distant. But here's the deeper truth. Losing people who never truly saw you isn't a loss. It's liberation. Most people don't want to understand you. They want to control how you're perceived. And when your silence threatens that illusion, they react. Not because you hurt them, but because you stopped letting them shape your identity. That's the power of restraint. You stop justifying why you walked away. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop over-talking your values to those who don't live by any. You simply act. And the ones who are meant to be in your life, they'll understand your silence without needing a translation. This kind of presence, calm, certain, unapologetic, it's rare. It unsettles the manipulators. It disappoints the users. It filters the noise. But those who remain, they see you. They respect you. Because they know you'll never lower your standards just to keep someone comfortable in misunderstanding you. That's the Stoic kind of silence. It's not loud. It's not defensive. It's not reactive. It's poised. It's centered. It's unshakable. You don't need to explain your peace. You don't need to justify your limits. You don't need to raise your voice when your absence speaks volumes. Let your silence do what your explanations never could. Remind the world that your worth is not up for debate. Truth number 6, quiet detachment delivers the deepest lesson. There's a unique kind of strength that few ever master. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's not announced with final texts or explosive exits. It's the quiet departure, the graceful, complete, and wordless letting go. You don't slam the door. You don't leave a final paragraph begging to be understood. You simply walk away, without noise, without need. And in doing so, you teach the lesson they never saw coming. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." It's in the aftermath, the silence, where the real consequence is felt. Not by you, but by them. They sit alone with their own thoughts, replaying your stillness, haunted by the quiet space where your voice once existed. Your absence becomes a mirror. It reflects every overlooked kindness, every ignored moment of loyalty, every unappreciated effort. Your silence says what your words never could. I don't need to fight to be seen. I won't stay where I'm not honored. I've found more peace in detachment than I ever did in your presence. And for many people, that kind of energy is terrifying. They're used to chaos. They expect pleading. They rely on emotional noise to maintain control. But when you go quiet, you remove the battlefield. You stop giving them something to push against. And that absence, it becomes the loudest message they've ever received. They expected you to stay, to reach out, to try again. But you didn't. And that's what cuts the deepest. Because people don't truly learn from confrontation. They learn from distance. Not when you scream, "Respect me," but when they sit in silence and realize they lost something irreplaceable. And if they never come to that realization, that's okay too. Because the silence wasn't just their lesson, it was yours. You finally understood. Your peace doesn't need their permission. Your healing doesn't require their closure. Your growth isn't dependent on their recognition. You saw that not everyone deserves access to your energy. You stopped bleeding in front of people who never understood pain. You stopped trying to explain storms to those who've only known sunshine. That's what detachment really is. Not a lack of feeling, but the decision to stop sacrificing your soul in places that keep wounding it. That's why the Stoics didn't chase apologies. They didn't demand justice. They didn't seek understanding. They let the silence speak for them. They chose action over argument, peace over validation, exit over explanation. You don't need to yell, "I'm done." Just be done. Because in that stillness, you regain something more valuable than any apology, your power. And here's what happens when you fully reclaim it. You no longer react from emotion. You no longer try to prove your worth. You no longer explain what was never seen. You simply live, with clarity, with quiet, with resolve. If you've made it to this point, you can feel the shift inside you. It's happening already. Something sacred is returning. Something that was always yours. Your voice, held firmly in silence. Your peace, guarded by distance. Your worth, no longer waiting to be confirmed. Let this be your final affirmation. My silence is my last word, and my most powerful one. Thank you for staying with this truth. If it spoke to you, share it. Comment your own affirmations. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every week. Because sometimes one single idea, one quiet moment of clarity, can change how you carry yourself forever.